What's up YouTube? I'm excited for this one because it's going to be a mixture of a live class and a voiceover, so get y'all thinking caps on. The first thing we're going to do is create our base with that forward guard. Have y'all ever seen a max prestige Edgar? Well, neither have I, but we about to find out at the end of this video. After you guys are done debulking with the forward, we created this line, but don't worry, I'll show you guys how to get rid of that later. You want to identify the top from the bottom, so what we're going to do here is create a section. If you don't know how to section, don't worry, I'm going to show you. Step number one for identifying the top from the bottom is find the calic, find the apex. The apex is the very top of the head. Now since we found point A, find point B. Point B is the recession. The recession is where the hairline is at, the corner of the hairline. So if I were to draw an imaginary line, his hairline's probably somewhere over here. If you can't find it, then I'm just going to go ahead and dig for it a little bit. I can see that it's right here, the corner of his lineup, where his vertical bars meet to his horizontal, aka hairline. This right here is going to be the recession. So we're going to do a parting from the apex to the recession. So make sure, put your thumb on top of the comb and just follow it, follow it, follow it. Then when you get to the destination, let go with the comb, comb it out, and then comb this the opposite way. So I'm gonna do that one more time so you guys can see. And that is how you separate the top from the bottom. So now do that on both sides. All right, so now that we've done that, we all know that the bulk makes this cut. So what we wanna do is not cut too parallel. So we don't wanna cut too straight up. We want to cut at more of an angle to create a triangle shape. So when he goes ahead and he styles it with the product, he can scrunch it up and there's volume here. So once you guys saturated the hair, go ahead and part it. And remember to use this back side of the comb when you part to flatten that out, so you guys can have an easy pickup like this. We don't want to go ahead and chop all this straight up. What we want to do is tilt this to the side and just chip off this. So boom, boom, boom. Grab another section. That was one section. Boom, picking up the other one. Tilt. Snip a little bit. So now do that all around the head. Now we're gonna go ahead and soften up this line with the thinning shears. One, two, three, comb it down, see how it's looking. So this is gonna allow us to keep that weight without it looking too harsh. Because if we don't, then it's gonna be looking like we just got lazy and left the bulk line. And what I'm doing is I'm finding this line. So I'm picking up and I see that the line is right here, so I'm hitting it. So I'm not picking it up and then going all the way in here, you know, like I see where the line is coming from. It's right here, so I'm picking it up and I'm hitting those hairs that are creating that line. This is just the edges that you have to hit to smoothen out. Whenever I cut the top on a style like this, I wanna make sure this front area is looking spliffy, because when you hand them the mirror, this is the first thing they're gonna see. So I gotta make sure I set the tone right with the fringe. So what we're gonna do in this case, he wants 1/2 inch off. So I think this will be a good amount to chip off. So we're gonna go ahead and set our base. I'm gonna point cut that in. After this, I'm gonna grab this other section with the comb, with the tight side of the comb, and then drop it down and use that as a guide and tilt a little bit and chip off this. Now, as you guys can see, there's a little disconnection here. From here to here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect it. So comb down. We're gonna connect this length to here, and boom. Now we'll come back and detail the fringe. So whatever we do on one side, we do to the other side, obviously. Come here. Make sure you don't pull too hard. You want the same tension. So boom. Connect. So now that we establish our length on both sides, we don't want to leave this line blunt. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up the hair here,
chop it one time, pick up the hair here, chop it one time. I'm using my thinning shears, by the way. This side I'm gonna be light with it because it's already light as is. As you guys can see, this area right here grows more than this area, so be mindful about that and color match. So if you have to do it a couple more times, go ahead and do it. Then I'm gonna go ahead and customize it with the feather comb. I like this one because you could really get in there and just, it gives an effortless wispy look. I'm gonna stay away from this area. This area is already pretty light. This area right here needs some touching up to do. Don't be afraid to angle it a different way if you're trying to get in a little spot. So, and like I said before, this is the first thing your client is gonna see, so go ahead and take the extra time to make this look clean, because I guarantee you, the other barbers just do a blunt cut and call it a day. But if you go ahead and do these extra things, your client will notice. So now we're gonna go ahead and move over to the top. So now once you guys done the mohawk section, and we're gonna go ahead and remove that 1/2 inch. Now we're just gonna go ahead and remove 1/2 inch. And follow the shape of the head. As you guys can see, as this head starts to round, I'm starting to round as well with my fingers. And one of the best tips that I could give when doing this is, if the hair is coming directly 90 degrees from his head, then that means you're doing a good job. But if you're doing this and you can see how it's traveling to the side and you're cutting, that's how you're gonna get an uneven cut. So once we establish our length down the middle, now all we have to do is comb that hair down. And you guys could keep on doing vertical sections, but when working in the shop, this is probably gonna be your most efficient way. But just go ahead and cut everything in the half now, so we can see our guide right here from the middle. Then we're just gonna go ahead and snip off that 1/2 inch. Boom. So now that everything's cut down the middle, look up a little bit for me. Everything's cut in the middle. Boom. Section, push off, pick up. Guide right here. And 1/2 inch gone.
Rolling. You got 58 minutes.
Y'all heard the man. We got 58 minutes to complete this haircut. We're starting off with the outline because I want to see what I'm fading into. This will make fading a lot easier. So now that the canvas is clean, we're gonna go ahead and lever open 1/2 inch up, followed by the half guard, another 1/2 inch up. Before moving on, make sure that this panel is completely even all around. Also make sure that you set your guidelines neat. The neater they are, the less touch-up work you will have to do at the end of the taper. Proceeding with the 1.5. In just a few moments, I'm gonna show you how I skip the 2 guard with the use of clip over comb and also detailing with the thinning shears. Now we're gonna go ahead and fully close this guard and then do it a notch down, and don't forget to show love behind the ear, fade behind the ear. My rule of thumb when doing tapers is to keep darkness within this point to this point. Why? Because it just looks really good. I follow the neckline all the way to the corner of the lineup, and I leave darkness there, and usually it just looks really cool. When people are having a hard time deciding whether they want to do the mid taper, the low taper, this is usually my rule of thumb, and 10 out of 10 they end up loving the taper. Now with the thinning shears, we're just gonna go ahead and penetrate all those little darker areas or bulky areas. The moment y'all all been waiting for. Chrissy, how you get rid of that bottom line? Today we're gonna show you with the close halfway open method. So we're going in with the guard closed. We're doing everything in our power to get that thing out of there. Going halfway now. Now when it gets to open, I'm gonna make sure to be light on my touch. You guys are gonna see me push the limits to this lever open. I'm gonna go in areas that you thought cannot be done. What I'm really going to try to do is flick at all the dark little areas and disperse the darkness. I'm making every color submerge into each other, and you guys can see right here, it looks like I'm putting the blade flat on the skin, but I'm really not. I'm kind of just hovering and slicing and dicing all those little darker areas, being mindful about the pressure that I'm putting through. And now I'm going ahead and I'm revising the bottom work just by going ahead and closing the lever the lower I get. And watch how I flip the clipper. Boom! I switch sides, and make sure to use both sides of the clipper because one side could be sharper than the other side. When I was first starting, I hated the shaver because I couldn't get the bottom line out, but it's just like a clipper. We also have to flick with it out, and for a lot of you it might be the motion that you guys can't get down, but just keep doing it, man. Within time you guys are going to build the scale and it's going to be a piece of cake. The neck taper, man, it's gonna be the same steps as it was in the side, but the only difference is that the back of the head is way denser. What does that mean? It means that the hair be on some goddamn bullshit sometimes. Like, it doesn't cut. So put it like this, like you could use a 1, but it'd be the same color as the 1.5, if that makes sense. So be mindful that you might have to go a little shorter in the back, and those guidelines might have to be a little bit more spread out. In my case, I'm a little more experienced, so I could deal with having these guides as small as they seem in this video. So I went ahead and at first I did the half guard lever open, but I didn't like how dark that looked, so I went ahead and I closed it up a little notch just to get a little more lighter, followed up by the 1.5 close. Now this is not gonna get that line out, but we're gonna go ahead with this 1 guard and start getting busy. Bro, the ends of this taper, the ends of the back taper are always so stubborn. You're always gonna have to go in there. Check out how I get this spot lighter. So it doesn't get any lighter, so I close up the notch. Flick at it a couple times, still doesn't get light, so I close it more. And with the back, this is how it's always gonna be. You're just gonna always have to flick, brush, close it up a little bit more. It's tedious. Trust your process, trust the skills. Lift up the bulk like how I do here with my thumb. This gives you a better visual. Not sure how, but this always works. I feel like it just lets me know what has to be flicked out and what has to be clipper over comb, because when I let go, I just start looking at everything else. And sometimes when you're at that point at a cut and you're not too sure what you should be flicking on, or you don't see anything else, that's when it's time to move on, because you can't just like go ahead and spend too much time on one thing. Because I feel like that I fell victim to that beginning of my career, and that's why my haircuts would take so long. So sometimes when you're in that little rough patch in the haircut, just go ahead and move on. As you can see from this angle here, this is those little fuzzy hairs. So we're gonna go ahead, reduce the length, and then go ahead and punch in a solid crispy line. Never, 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 no, do we never forget to use that straight razor on our haircuts, because that's the thing that's gonna get it looking like this.